Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Today's video is going to be regarding the long trip home. Now, I sped up the route back by double speed, so when the vehicle hits Palouse River Drive, we'll speed up the video double speed. Keep in mind that by the time the vehicle hits near Blaine, there is 16 minutes of missing time. So the missing time came before the vehicle reached Blaine, and that's if he drove down Highway 95. Now, if he took some other longer routes, it could have killed that time, and that's when he would have shown up there. But it feels like prior to reaching Blaine and turning on his phone, he had already ditched the weapon, and likely he would hide the weapon and maybe some of the bloody clothing prior to reaching Blaine and then turning his phone on, because he wouldn't want his ping information to reveal where he hid those items. So let's start off right here. This is my 360-degree video. As we know, Kohberger was in this house, and he was in there between 4:08 and I would say 4:20. I mean, his car leaves at a high rate of speed at 4:20 and 47 seconds. I think Kohberger was in the house from about 4:10 or 4:11 to about 4:17 or 18. I think that's all the longer he was in there, 5 to 6 minutes, where Ethan Chapin, Xander Kernodle, Madison Mogen, and Kaylee Gonzalez were all killed by a K-bar knife-wielding maniac, who again is Bryan Kohberger. He actually purchased the K-bar knife back in March of 2022, and oh, by the way, he was wearing a balaclava. That too he also purchased in January of 2022. Both items were purchased on Amazon and shipped to his house, amazingly, to him, shipped to Bryan Kohberger. Unbelievable, isn't it? Bryan Kohberger drives a white Elantra missing its front license plate. That's the type of vehicle that was seen driving around the neighborhood. And on the bed of Madison Mogen, a knife sheath was left with Bryan Kohberger's DNA on it. The knife sheath was from the exact same K-bar knife make and model that he purchased on Amazon. I think that's pretty good circumstantial evidence, don't you think? So here is the house. This is in my 360-degree program. You can see Madison Mogen's bedroom window right there, that little piece of wood that's underneath that branch. And then right there is, I guess if we backed up just slightly, there you can see it right there. That wood right there is Madison Mogen's window. That window right there is the window at the top of the steps when you walk up the stairs. So let's take a look at the 3D model that I made. So here is the slab of cement just outside the kitchen, and this is what it would look like to Kohberger when he was leaving. He comes out the kitchen and then out the sliding glass door, like that, right? And if we go back to here, that would mean that he would come out that sliding glass door and make his way up here. Maybe his car was parked there, anywhere along right here, or even back there. It's also possible he parked all the way back there, but either way, he left out of here and then came up the bank and made his way to the vehicle, his vehicle. And then the vehicle is spotted at 4:20 and 47 seconds right here. So the camera that is right up there inside of that light, I don't know if it's there now, but that's where the camera was at the time, filmed the vehicle driving right here. And here is an image of the white Elantra driving right there. There's the sign at the corner and the edge of this building right here. So the vehicle is driving in this area at 4:20 and 47 seconds. And it's leaving at a high rate of speed. And it goes around, comes around this corner. This is King Road right now. This is King Road. That's Sigma Chi. I'm just skipping forward in my model here. And then he goes around this corner, up like that. And again, came from this direction, and then around this corner right here. And then at 4:21:05, the headlights are seen right back here. So right here is the house that has a camera on it, and you can see through the trees right there, that is the 1122 King Road address. So the lights as they were traveling up this road right here could be spotted by this house right here and the camera that's on it. And that's what, when they would say the lights lit up the trees on Willanta Drive behind 1119 King Road. This is exactly where that spot is. So this would be at 42105, you'd be right in this area. So now we're going to switch over to video that I took driving around at night, and we'll have it real time until it gets down to Palouse River Drive, and then we'll speed it up, double speed, until it gets all the way back to Johnson Avenue in Pullman, Washington. All right, so let's take a look at that right now. So right now the car is parked outside 1122 King Road, and here it takes off at about 4:20 and 29 seconds. I think Kohberger's white Elantra is driving away much quicker than I am doing it. But I do sync it up with 4:20 and 47 seconds right here, and that is when the vehicle is spotted, as we showed earlier in that one still frame. Now at 42105, the vehicle is behind 1119 King Road on Willanta Drive here, and the lights are shining, and the camera at 1112 King Road films it. But as you can see, I get here at about 42110. So Kohberger's vehicle was absolutely smoking. I mean, it was going, just like they said, high rate of speed. Much quicker. To make up 5 seconds in that short of distance, you really have to be going fast. And when I was out there driving around, I realized how difficult it is to navigate these streets, especially at night, if you haven't been there before. I had to pull over many times and consult my maps and then figure out, okay, if I just keep going here and here, and then after an hour or so of driving around, it became really simple, where each loop I could go around and continue without having any difficulty at all. So right there on the left right there is, I believe, Ridge Road, and that's the one that goes around to that camera. Or that leads to Ridge Road, actually. But we're just heading towards, I think we have already turned on Conestoga. And Conestoga is the road that takes you out to Palouse River Drive. Now when we get to Palouse River Drive, I'm going to speed up the video by twice the speed. And that'll take us all the way back to Johnson, Washington, or at least, Johnson Street, and it's past Johnson, Washington. And remember, Johnson, Washington is where his phone turned back on for just 4 minutes at 5:32 and 5:36 in the evening of November 13th, 2022. Weirdly, almost exactly 12 hours after it had driven by there the first time. So right now we are on Conestoga, and in just a moment we will be at Palouse River Drive. That's the street down there, actually. And if you turn right there, you can make your way back to Pullman, Washington. So just turning on to Palouse River Drive right there. And the Elantra with Kohberger in it will just continue straight ahead and then take a right on Highway 95. Now, as I explained earlier, there is 15 or 16 minutes of missing time, meaning the vehicle should have reached Blaine area, the area where the phone pinged, around 4:33-ish. And here we are turning on Highway 95. And it is possible that he took just a longer route to get there. And there is a route that at that light we just saw, had you gone straight through that and drove all the way till it turns to the right, it has this long route that eventually winds back into that area of Blaine, and that's around that time, 4:48. So it could just be that he took even a more rural route to show up down there, so he isn't on Highway 95 where there's likely some cameras, and that might explain why he doesn't show up on a couple of the surveillance cameras that are just south of Moscow, Idaho on Highway 95. And that more rural route, that might be a good place to have dumped items. For example, if you had a pre-dug hole somewhere and you knew exactly where that was and you pulled over and buried the items, you know, or maybe, like, let's say you went there earlier and you dug a pre-dug hole, like I said, and then you can just pull over, put the items in it, cover it up really quick, and be on your way within less than a minute. And perhaps he did something like that on a more rural route and then showed up onto Highway 95 way south of Blaine, which would still ping near Blaine. It's actually a pretty small area. So on that map you're looking at right there, see at the bottom where it sort of curves to the right and then down, that's only about 6 or 7 miles away from Moscow. But we're just, you know, this is double speed, so I didn't drive this fast, everybody. I drove just a totally normal speed where I was basically driving the speed limit, not 5 miles an hour over, etc. So we're driving down Highway 95, and this is just what they have in the probable cause document. But either way, his phone is not on at this time. So it's 4:29. His phone is not on, and he does not want law enforcement to know where his vehicle is driving. And that's why it seems like it's very possible. Maybe I'll make a video on that other route that he could have taken, because it puts you out just south of Blaine, and out there you could hide something anywhere and nobody's going to find it. As you can see, though, there's hardly any lights out here, pitch dark. And then not too long from now, at 4:33 up on the clock, that's when I just have to stop the clock and then adjust it and add 15 minutes, and then it pings near Blaine. That's when he turns it on. So that's why I know there's missing time. I was driving at a totally normal, rational speed, and doing that, I was like, wow, I mean, I'm 15 minutes away from 4:48 where his phone turned back on. And obviously if it pinged north of Blaine, you know, the time would be adjusted a little bit, but there's at least, I would say, 10 to 15 or 16 minutes of missing time. So right now we're at 4:32:32. And just a moment here, it'll be when I have to do the time shift. The missing time, shift to 4:48. Boom. See how now I have it 4:48:25, and we're just south of Blaine right now. And I think he had to turn his phone back on when he reached Highway 95 again. So if he'd gone that other route way out in the rural areas and came back on, or even if he took this route, he knows that momentarily he's going to cut across in these dirt roads that go all the way across to 195, so he needs to turn his phone back on. Apparently he used a VPN, they say, at 4:48, and I think maybe he accessed his mapping programs right at that point so that he could make his way across, because I got lost 2 or 3 times just driving across. I had to stop, back up, and turn, and you'll see that represented in this video. So there'll be times where I was driving and I was supposed to take a left, but I turned right. And then what I do is I edit it where after I come back from going right and past the spot that I was at, I start the video again. I mean, I just splice it together, so we're not missing any time or anything like that. And now we're using daylight video for the same location. So this is 4:51 a.m. That's just the running clock from the night of the homicide. So that was a wrong turn that I just took. So I went right back out on the highway and kept moving. And I do that a couple times. So even over here, it's hard to know which of the roads is which. And especially if you don't have the names of the roads and you just see it on a map. And I think even when I knew the names of them, you still have to pull over and look because it's so dark outside. And even when it's not dark outside, you just can't see them because they're really small. So eventually I make it to the right place where I'm supposed to turn. See that one? It wasn't the right one again. And here it is right there. I'm going to cut across. And it's really pretty out here, to be honest with you. But look at the road's dirt, dirt made of dirt. I mean, that's all there is dirt all over it. I mean, my car was so dirty when I was done driving. I wonder if Kohberger's car was dirty that night, and then in the morning perhaps he took it to a car wash, because there's no way to avoid just absolutely getting covered with mud and dirt driving on these roads, especially the back portion of your vehicle. So we're just making our way across. As you can see, it's 4:55 and 28 seconds. And this might have been a drive where he could slowly drive back and decompress. It's also possible out in this area that maybe he pulled over somewhere else. So let's say he took that long rural route back to Highway 95, and then he didn't dump anything. That's just how long it took to get to near Blaine, where his phone pinged at 4:48. And then out on this long stretch here somewhere, he already had a pre-dug hole and he buried the items. It could be something like that. However, it seems like at 5:32 and 5:36 in the evening, when his phone pings near Johnson, Washington, when he turned his phone back on for 4 minutes, that might be associated with where he may have put the items. Like he turned it on to again get some mapping information. So it's very difficult to determine what Kohberger did with the knife. But I think it's most likely that the missing time is associated with him getting rid of the bloody knife and clothing. You wouldn't want to get pulled over and have those items in your car. And by the way, the speed that it looks like I'm driving here at double speed, as you can see on the clock up there, I don't think you could even pull off on these roads. You'd probably slide right off trying to go around some of these corners. I tried doing this drive at night too, and I think I made it across, but I think it's a little bit more helpful to look at it during the daytime so you can see the terrain and possibilities of where he may have put items. So that's 5 a.m. And see, I think I turned right. So then I came back, boom, I just passed that same location again. So that's how I edited it together to get back on track. And right there, I was supposed to take a right, and I didn't. And then I came back and got back in position again. I think I have a couple of those, maybe another one of those instances where I turned the wrong way. But it's pretty amazing how, while taking this route and 448, making your way onto this rural road here, I forgot the name of the road, that you get back to Johnson Avenue almost exactly at the timing that the probable cause has in it. And I'm driving pretty slow through these areas. And yes, I did get a ticket while I was in Moscow, Idaho a couple years ago. I was going 36 and a 25 on campus. And that's a huge story to the Kohberger, nutjob, pro burger community. You know, wow, that great. They even say that because I was going 11 miles over the speed limit, that maybe Gray's the killer. I mean, it's just insanity, you guys. Insanity. The pro burger community has no limitations. They just, whatever comes to mind becomes a reality on that day. Then they shift to another reality the next day. The problem is they're never in reality. They are crazy, crazy people. Gosh, Gray, that's mean. Just because they have a different opinion. Oh, jeez. My God. These people are sick. You know, blaming Dylan and Bethany. Oh, yeah, it was a drug house. It was a cartel. It was this and it was that. It was it. Yeah, pointing to every and anything out there except for the reality that Bryan Kohberger is the killer. There is no doubt. I personally have zero doubt that Bryan Kohberger is the killer. Now, you might have doubt, but it'll be because you're thinking about the case irrationally. Rational-minded people, when they see all the facts placed together in this case, can see that Bryan Kohberger is the killer. Has been zero information presented by anyone that points to away from Kohberger at all. If you want to try to include somebody with Bryan Kohberger, sure, let's wait for him to bring that person's name up. We know he said, did they arrest anybody else? But apparently another serial killer said the same thing. I think Bryan Kohberger wanted to emulate other serial killers. I think Danny Rowland is exactly, I think it's incredible, the comparison. Danny Rowland used a K-bar knife. He would break through sliding glass doors. Just very similar. Not that Kohberger is similar to him. It's just that he's imitating the techniques. And then maybe even Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy moved from Pennsylvania to Washington. Is that what Kohberger did? Before he moved, did he already have his sights on Madison Mogan and Xana Kernodle, etc.? Did he already have his sights on them? That was one of the poll questions. People didn't seem like that was likely. They thought when he moved to Pullman, I think it was in June, that's when he first made contact. But it's interesting that he bought the K-bar knife in March. It's almost as if he had planned out all of this prior. Maybe he just knew that he was going to use a K-bar knife, but not who his victims were. But I think it is possible that he was, he knew he was going to go to Washington. He picked that school, and then he was looking online for students there that would post on TikTok, etc. And then he decided to go there. Or he decided on his victims. All right, so we've made our way all the way across the dirt roads and back onto Highway 195. We made it there a few minutes ago. And we're just heading up north now, back to Pullman, Washington. And right now it's 5:11 and 56 seconds. So let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think Kohberger had already picked out Madison and that house prior to moving? Do you think Kohberger is emulating serial killers? And one of the things that I really want to know, if I could ever get the answer, is the knife sheath a calling card? Did he leave that there intentionally? Because if Kohberger's studying serial killers and he doesn't really have his own persona, he's sort of looking at the serial killers and copying them, a calling card is something that is studied and looked at in cases. And so maybe he thought of leaving a sheath, and he was going to leave one at each one of his scenes that he killed people at. Or maybe he was going to leave a different item at each scene. And it's sort of interesting that the K-bar knife sheath seemed to only have one source of, one single source of DNA on there. Now, I thought I heard in one of the hearings or read in one of the documents that there was other blood on the sheath, and if that's the case, then at that point it seems like it's possibly more likely that it fell off during a battle. But I think it's also possible that he just left it there as a calling card, and he just didn't clean the one spot on the snap. He thought he cleaned it all down. It was all great, but he missed that spot on the button snap. All right, just heading up north here. It's 5:16. So in probably 5 minutes on our time and 10 minutes on the time on the clock on the video, again, it's double speed. We'll be getting near Johnson Avenue. And it's crazy because it's right around the exact same time. 5:26, I believe. At least that's what my memory is telling me. It could be 5:36, but I think it's 5:26. All right. I mean, you gotta admit, it is really pretty out there with the rolling hills. I'd like to take my drone out there and just fly around. It's so fun. I have a drone that you put goggles on, and then you hold a joystick in your hand, and you are the eyes of a bird. I mean, it's unbelievable. You just fly, take off, and you're just watching, and you're really immersed in the environment. I have a video on my channel where I'm at the coast, and I even follow seagulls and go along the waves. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. It's almost like a life-altering experience where when you're doing this, you're just in your own little world, as if you are a bird, so peaceful. So right here, the vehicle turned again off of the main highway. There's really no reason for him to have turned off of Highway 195. but it seems like you wanted to avoid cameras. And sort of the main entrance into Pullman, Washington. So now he's on this dirt road again, and he's coming in from a different direction. I think it's just always to throw the cameras off, etc. Now I think he might have his phone on at this time. So obviously there will be some pings at this time of night that are in the general direction of Wawawe Park, but there's no way that you're going to have any possibility of ping information showing him at Wawawe Park during the time of the homicides. There's no chance. Zero. And in a moment here we'll reach a stop sign where we turn left onto, I believe that's it'll be Johnson Avenue. I think it's just at the end of this road right here. And there it is. There's the stop sign. And then through it. It was a little slower rolling stop than that, okay? All right, you pro-burgers. Did you see Gray? He didn't come to a full stop, because when I drive, I always come to a full stop. I'm so much better than he is. Ooh. God, these people are nuts. All right, here we go. We're at 523, heading north. You can see on the map we're almost to Pullman. And in a moment here, we'll pull in exactly where they discuss a camera that films the Elantra driving by. So they must have checked all these cameras and then were able to determine the route that Kohberger took, and possibly even if his phone was turned on at this point, they could just determine where he went. So look what time it is, 5:25:37. So just right around 5:26. If you see right on the upper left and right on the right there were two cameras on that building. And the vehicle's turning, and then there's another camera on a building coming up here in a moment. After we go through this light here, or stop sign, there's a camera right there on the left at that gas station that filmed the car coming towards it, and then there must be a camera on the other side that showed the vehicle coming up here and stopping. And the vehicle likely turned left there and went back to his residence. I just went back to Moscow because that's where I was staying. That's why I turned right. So as you can see right there, that's the map overlay of the area, and you can see my route is in green there. So that's the only route that I could find that was close to how they drew it on the probable cause document in their route that they believe Kohberger went back. So it's really close. I think what they're doing is they're basing it on which side of the cell tower his phone pinged on, and then maybe even using distances are able to kind of tell where his vehicle was as it traveled west back over to Highway 195. So you can see right there that Johnson, Washington area, that's where at 5:32 and 5:36, between that time frame, his phone turned back on and then off again until after 8 o'clock in the evening. So what was he doing during that time frame? I think that's something that would be very interesting to find out. But I hope this allowed you guys to visualize the route that he took back straight from the house, the timing, etc. And leave a comment in the comment section and let me know what you think. All right, so thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate it. And as I always say, until next time, Be safe out there.